Good, happy Thursday morning, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the news with Riley King. Let's begin. First up, awaiting Arizona. Overnight, the race tightened in Arizona, with President Trump cutting into Biden's lead with hundreds of thousands of absentee ballots still to be counted. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
In Arizona, Trump supporters were gathering outside the Elections Department in Phoenix. Some were chanting they wanted to get inside the building. Sheriff's deputies have been on that scene. ABC's Whit Johnson is there with more on the vote count. Mona and Kenneth, Joe Biden is still maintaining that slight lead here in the state of Arizona. But both campaigns are kind of working their mathematical jujitsu to try to get a grip on the numbers here and find a path forward. Let's take a step back and talk about what everybody's waiting on here in the state of Arizona. Hundreds of thousands of absentee ballots. Now, these are not ballots that were sent in early as part of the early voting here in the state. Instead, these were ballots that voters dropped off in person either on election day or the weekend prior. The Biden campaign says, look, if most of these ballots are coming from Maricopa County, this is a county that has started to lean to the left in recent years, and in this election, Joe Biden has been outperforming Donald Trump in this county. So they like the numbers and the odds for them. For the Republicans, they point to the fact that if people were dropping off their ballots on election day, they felt as though they were going to have a higher election day turnout and outnumber Biden's supporters by a ratio of 4-1. So both campaigns are trying to work the numbers and find that path forward. A lot at stake here in the state of Arizona. Kenneth, Mona, you're right about that. Thank you. Appreciate it, Whit. And
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. We will have to see if Arizona will announce who the winner will be. We'll have to wait and see. Georgia is one state that is keeping my eye on, not just for this race, but for the future. Casey from NBC News says. Let's take a listen to that video from NBC News.
Casey, in on this. What are your thoughts this morning?
Yeah, no, the Biden campaign, I think, remains at this point cautiously optimistic about what is still outstanding on this map. And that is really what they are counting on. But you have seen, and I think it's important to consider the rhetoric you're hearing from both President Trump and from Joe Biden. They're being the Biden campaign, incredibly careful not to get ahead of where the counting is. And that's very intentional. Obviously, we've seen President Trump out here already saying that he's won the election falsely. Georgia is one state that I am really keeping my eye on, not just for this race, but for the future, because it has all of those trends and things that we're seeing in this election. Suburban, particularly suburban women, really breaking for Democrats, but rural areas going even more strongly for Republicans. That cultural divide really on display. And it's not a state we thought would be this close if we were talking a couple of months ago, but here we are.
Mm-hmm. I call that the sleeper battleground of this cycle, Georgia. So we'll see what happens, how it shapes up today.
Okay, we'll have to see about Georgia as well. Arizona and Georgia, two areas to keep a close eye on. Former Governor Chris Christie on President Donald Trump's path to 270 electoral college votes. This one is not over yet, and no one should act as if it is. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News. He was speaking with George Stephanopoulos on Good Morning America. Let's listen to that.
what's the best hope for President Trump to get to the 270 he needs? How does he have to think about confronting falling short?
Well, it starts with Arizona, George, and they made progress overnight. And the principle remains the same for the president that it does for Vice President Biden. All the votes should be counted and counted fairly. And so in Arizona, I know some news organizations have called the state. We have not. I think that's appropriate. There's still a lot of votes to be counted. The governor, Doug Ducey of Arizona, believes that there's enough votes out there that could make a difference given where they're coming from. Second, he's got to keep his eye on the ball in Pennsylvania because that's a must-win state for him now. And again, he still has a 180,000 vote margin, so there's still a large margin, a lot of votes to count, but they're making progress on that. We may know by this evening whether that lead stands up or it doesn't. So for the president, his focus, since he is the president, is not on transition, but is on trying to get to a place where he can get to 270. This one's not over yet, and no one should act as if it is. Because that's respecting the American people's will as well, and that's what the president and his team should be focused on, and I believe they are.
Okay, we will have to keep an eye on that as well throughout the day. So, it could be either Donald Trump or Joe Biden. Who knows? It is like a tough race right now. Still no winner in this presidential race, which is crazy. But hopefully soon or so we'll know who the clear winner is of the race. More than 24 hours after Election Day, there is still no clear winner in the presidential race. We're paying special attention today on Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Those are the states to pay the most attention on today. Let's take a listen to that video from CBS News.
At our election center, we want you to know the process is working. We have to remind you again, please be patient. They are counting the votes, and that's where we're going to begin. Welcome to CBS This Morning from the CBS News Election Headquarters. We're here in Times Square, New York, once again.
And we can come together in laughter, if
and
nothing
we can
else.
come together in laughter, if nothing else. I'm feeling good. We're going to plow through. We're going to get through this together, honestly. Here's where we begin. More than 24 hours after Election Day, we still have no clear winner in this presidential race, but Joe Biden is ahead in electoral votes, leading President Trump 253 to 213. We are paying special attention today to Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia. If he wins any two of those, he will get to 270. That's the numbers you know required for victory. Biden is also way ahead in the popular vote with more than, listen to this number, 71 million people. That's the most of any presidential candidate in history.
We are also tracking different reactions from the candidates. President Trump is suggesting there has been fraud without any evidence, and he's also making legal challenges. By contrast, former Vice President Joe Biden is calling for patience. All right, O'Keefe is following all of this. Ed, good morning to you. What do the numbers tell you this morning?
Well, good morning, Tony. Right now, both Arizona and Nevada are leaning towards former Vice President Biden. And with those electoral votes, he would be right at the 270 needed to win. He wouldn't even need Pennsylvania. The Biden-Harris campaign is feeling so confident, it's already launched its presidential transition website.
I'm not here to declare that we've won, but I am here to report when the count is finished, we believe we will be the winners.
Speaking in Wilmington, Delaware, former Vice President Joe Biden said he believes he's on the verge of history.
I'm very proud of our campaign. Only 3 presidential campaigns in the past have defeated an incumbent president. When it's finished, God willing, we'll be the 4th.
Biden's chances of reaching 270 electoral votes dramatically improved with projected wins in Wisconsin and Michigan on Wednesday. And he delivered the same message he's been running on since he announced his candidacy.
So once this election is finalized and behind us, it'll be time for us to do what we've always done as Americans. to put the harsh rhetoric of the campaign behind us, to lower the temperature, to see each other again, to listen to one another.
But President Trump isn't backing down. While he had no public events on Wednesday, he took to Twitter to make multiple misleading and false statements. He claimed victories in Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, and Michigan. This, despite evidence to the contrary in Michigan and no official race calls yet in the other states. The president's campaign is also launching legal challenges in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, and is demanding a recount in Wisconsin. The Trump campaign strategy has been contradictory. On the one hand, in states the president's trailing in, like Arizona, they say the number of votes yet to be counted will put the president ahead of Biden. But in states where the president is ahead, like Pennsylvania, the campaign wants the votes to stop being counted. Mr. Trump dispatched his son and members of his legal team to the Keystone State on Wednesday, where more than 760,000 cast ballots have not yet been counted.
It's not fair. This isn't democracy.
Ultimately, they want the U.S. Supreme Court to stop Pennsylvania from counting mail-in ballots received by Friday, even if they were postmarked on Election Day. The High Court previously refused to do so. The dueling strategy by the Trump campaign is trickling down to the president's supporters. In Detroit, protesters chanted outside a ballot processing center as the Trump campaign sued to stop the count of ballots in Michigan until they say election observers are given better access. But election officials say that challengers from both parties were already inside the room. In Georgia, the Trump campaign is suing to ensure votes by mail received after 7 p.m. on Election Day are not counted. The lawsuit alleges a Republican poll watcher witnessed a poll worker bring a stack of ballots from a back room and mix them with ballots to be counted. As with the rest of the legal challenges, however, there's been no evidence provided by the Trump campaign.
So typically ballots are kept in other rooms before they are then processed depending on state law. It's not unusual.
No.
I mean, there's accusations here that sound like something that they are not.
Sounds like it's nefarious.
Yes,
It is,
yeah,
is not.
It's all going to be sorted out, and there are poll watchers from both parties observing. Most of these Secretary of State offices have bipartisanship built into them.
Yep, that's
People
right.
should know that.
And this is a process we don't typically see because races aren't typically this close.
Yeah.
But counting does go on after Election Day.
Yeah.
Quite normally.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay, and there you go. And now let's take a look at the number of your national election result for Biden and Donald Trump. And as you can see, that number currently stands. Joe Biden is in the lead, 253, and Donald Trump is 214. Both candidates need to reach 270, either Joe Biden or Donald Trump, to win this election. So we will have to wait and see if we hear from more states that we are waiting to hear if they win or not. We'll have to wait and see. 2020 election live updates and results. Hundreds of thousands of votes are still being counted. Election day is turning into election week as the continuing of votes continues across the United States, with primarily results showing tight races in several key battleground states. Candidates need 270 electoral college votes to secure the presidency. ABC News projects President Donald Trump currently has 214, while former Vice President Joe Biden has 253. Biden's count includes Wisconsin, where ABC News has characterized him as the apparent winner because the vote is very close and has not yet been certified. Both Trump and the Republican incumbent Donald Trump and Biden, the Democrat challenger, addressed the nation in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Each expressed confidence in the race for the White House. By Wednesday evening, Biden again delivered remarks urging patience, but Trump remained out of the public view. The president took to Twitter instead to claims of voter fraud and falsely call race for himself, while his lawyers waged legal battles to halt vote counting in critical states. The 2020 election has already shattered early vote records and is on track to the 138 million who went to the polls in 2016. Biden, with a comfortable lead in the popular vote, has also broke the record for obtaining the most votes ever cast for a U.S. presidential candidate, with more than 70 million and counting. Your top headlines for today on this election coverage. Under 25,000 ballots left to be counted in Georgia, Secretary of State says. Trump's lead in Georgia shrinks to just 18,540 votes. Biden continues to hold lead in Arizona. Final result in North Carolina not expected until next week. Biden closing in on Trump in Pennsylvania. Update from 7:27 a.m. Under 25,000 ballots left to be counted in Georgia, the Secretary of State says. Georgia Secretary of State told Atlanta ABC affiliate WSB-TV on Thursday morning that there are now less than 25,000 ballots left to be counted statewide, and that it should be done no later than the afternoon. Trump currently has 49.6% of the vote in Georgia, while Biden has 49.2% of the vote. So we will have to wait and see if Georgia announces this afternoon. Dow futures jump more than 300 points as Wall Street expands post-election rally. U.S. stock index futures were sharply higher early Thursday on hopes the winner of the U.S. president election would soon be determined. And thank you for watching this morning edition of The News with Riley King. I'm Riley King. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you back here later on today for another edition of The News with Riley King. Goodbye, everyone, and I'll have a news report coming up soon.